Excuse me. I just don't know about some of these people. I think they were so caught up maybe in the times. You know, things were taboo then, like bringing up his foster father's, affairs and children by his affairs. None of your business. That's my business, a man's business, so to speak. There are a lot of things that, it's probably a good thing that I wasn't born back then because I'd have killed somebody. Men's things, get out of here. Anyway. And Ralph Waldo Emerson also referred to Poe as the Jingle Man. Ooh. Aldous Huxley wrote that Poe's writing falls into vulgarity by being too poetical, the equivalent of wearing a diamond ring on every finger. Well, jealous, are we? It is believed that only 12 copies have survived of Poe's first book, Tamerlane and Other Poems. In December 2009, one copy sold at Christie's, New York, for $662,000. I was going to get that for you, Chris, but somebody outbid me by about $662,499. Okay, so I'm sorry, but it's a record price paid for work of American literature. So, in physics and things, Eureka, a prose poem, it was written in 1848, included a cosmological theory that presaged the Big Bang Theory by 80 years, as well as the first plausible solution to Olber's paradox. Poe eschewed the scientific method in Eureka and instead wrote from pure intuition. For this reason, he considered a work of art not science, but still insisted it to be true. He also had an interest in cryptography. He placed a notice of his abilities in a Philadelphia paper, inviting submissions of ciphers, which he proceeded to solve. In 1841, Poe published an essay called A Few Words on Secret Writing. And capitalizing on public interest in the topic, he wrote The Gold Bug. Okay, we know that one. And he incorporating ciphers as an essential part of the story. His success with cryptography relied not so much on his knowledge of that field as on his knowledge of the magazine and newspaper culture. He had keen analytical abilities, which were evident in his detective stories and allowed him to see that the general public was largely ignorant of the methods by which a simple substitution cryptogram can be solved. And, of course, he used it to his advantage, okay? The sensation that Poe created with his cryptography stunts played a major role in popularizing cryptograms in magazines and newspapers. You go, Poe. Poe had an influence on cryptography beyond public interest during his lifetime. Again, here's another field in which he was a main influence. William Friedman, America's foremost cryptologist, was heavily influenced by Poe. His initial interest in cryptography came from reading The Gold Bug as a child, an interest he later put to use in deciphering Japan's Purple Code during World War II. So you don't always see his influence until somebody, said, well, he influenced me and this is why. He's just, I can't even think of the word for him. He was a genius before his time. He really was. He wrote, of course, The Black Cat, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Gold Bug, The Imp of Perverse, Ligeia, Mask of the Red Death, Murders in Rue Morgue, Pit and the Pendulum, Premature Burial, The Purloined Letter. Of course, we all know The Ted-Tail Heart. The Conqueror Worm poem. Who doesn't know the Conqueror Worm poem? I love that poem. In fact, it's about human mortality and the inevitability of death. I think a lot of people know the conqueror worm. I remember that I just remember that for some reason it stuck with me. So, conqueror worm, a dream within a dream. We all know. The Haunted Palace, of course. The Haunted Palace. Love these. Lenore, Tamerlane, The Raven. So, his last incomplete work was called The Lighthouse, The Oval Portrait. Yes, all kinds of good stuff. Awesome. Poetry, The City and the Sea. So, let me... But I think men in general back then were such jerks. I mean, I could use other words, but I won't. I mean, seriously, their word was it. You did not question them. And he kind of did the taboo thing, and, he wasn't the polite gentleman that I guess they thought he should have been. So, I want to see. No, that's not what I meant. I want to read The Conqueror Worm to you. If I can get it up. And here it is. Let me read it for you. The Conqueror Worm. Lo, 'tis a gala night within the lonesome latter years. An angel throng, bewinged, bed light in veils, and drowned in tears, sit in a theater to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter, mumble, and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets they, who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping out their condor wings, invisible woe. The motley drama, oh be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased for evermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth in the self-same spot, and much of madness and more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout, a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that risks from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and seraph sob at vermin fangs, in human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid in wine, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is a tragedy, man, and its hero, the conqueror worm. And we're going to take a short break, and I'll be right back.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left drifted scenes while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone, neath the halo of a street lamp. I turned my collar to the cold and damp, when my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking, people hearing without listening, people writing songs that voices never share, and no one dared disturb the sound of silence.